fifth unit. First, we'll see what are the topics we have in fifth unit. Fifth unit is two parts. This fifth unit is divided into two parts. In the first part, we'll be discussing about the graphs. In the second part, we'll discuss about trees, graph and the trees. So in this graph, we'll see what is the graph terminology. Types of graphs, representation of graphs, graph isomorphism, connectivity, Euler's path and Hamilton path, shortest path problems, graph coloring and planar graphs. So we'll be discussing all this in the first part. In today's class, I'll tell you what is graph terminology, what are the types of different graphs we have, right? Shall I start? So we'll start with graph terminology. Can anyone define what is a graph? Can anyone define a graph? Have you studied this in your data structures? Have you studied about graphs in your... Yes. Okay. Define a graph. What is a graph? So what does a graph contain? So a graph, the definition of graph is like a graph G is contains V comma E, where V is non-empty set of vertices. Non-empty set of vertices, and E is set of edges. E is set of edges. The vertices are also known as nodes, right? A graph G is defined as V comma E, where V is non-empty set of vertices and E is set of edges. Okay? Let us suppose if you have a graph like this, A, B, C, D. Okay? So here what are the vertices? No, set of vertices are A, B, C, D. Right? Let us suppose this is E1, E2, E3, E4. Now what is the set of edges? Set of edges are E1, E2, E3, E4. E1 is from A to B, E2 is from B to C, E3 from C to D, E4 from B to D. Right? These are the edges. Now suppose if you have one more edge from A to B like this, right? If you have one more edge, E5, and let us suppose if you have an edge at vertex D, let it be E6, right? Now, between the same pair of vertices, if you have more than one edge, then we will call those edges as parallel edges. Parallel edges, or also known as multiple edges. Between the same pair of vertices, if there is more than one edge, then it is known as parallel edges or multiple edges. Clear? Now E5 and E1 are the parallel edges. Now if the edge is from the same vertex to itself, if the edge is formed from the vertex to itself, that is E6, from D to itself, the edge is formed from D to itself, right? Those type of edges are known as loops and parallel edges, right? Now we'll see what is a simple graph. A simple graph is the one which does not have any parallel edges. A simple graph is the one which does not have any parallel edges and it should not contain loops. If there are no parallel edges and loops, we'll call it as a simple graph. A graph with no loops and parallel edges is known as a simple graph. Is known as a simple graph. Now, opposite to this simple graph is multigraph. Opposite to this simple graph is multigraph. In simple graph, there are no parallel edges and no loops. Opposite to this is multigraph, where you can have parallel edges and you can also have loops. Loops and parallel edges are allowed. Then, if a graph contains parallel edges and loops, you call it as a multigraph. The multigraph is also known as pseudograph. Multigraph is also known as pseudograph. Clear? Simple graph and multigraph are opposite to each other. Isolated vertex. What do you mean by an isolated vertex? Isolate itself means single. Means single. No one will be there. Right? So isolated vertex means a vertex which does not have any edges associated with it. A vertex where there is no edge incident with the vertex is known as an isolated vertex. A vertex where no edges incident with it. That means no edges associated with it. No edges incident with it is known as isolated vertex. Something like, let us suppose if you have a graph like this. Okay. Now in this case, from this vertex F, you have a vertex, but from this you don't have any edges associated with it, right? No edge is formed from the vertex V. Therefore, we can call this vertex F as an isolated vertex. Isolated vertex. Okay. Now, whatever the graphs I have discussed as of now, like simple graph, multi-graph, isolated vertex, then isolated graph. So, when you observe these graphs, there are no edges. All these are undirected graph. They are known as undirected graph. Right? You didn't mention the edge, direction of the edge. When you don't mention the direction of the edge, we will call it as a undirected graph. So, you can have directed graphs also. If you have a direction to the edge, we'll call it as an undirected graph. Sorry, directed graph. It is also known as digraph. Digraph, right? So the definition is same. So digraph is the one which contains set of vertices and edges. Now these edges are known as arcs. In case of a directed graph, the edges are known as arcs. Why? Because you specify the direction of the edge. You specify the direction of the edge. Right? Let us suppose if you have an edge which is from A to B. If the edge is from A to B, then it means that the edge has started at A and ends at B. If the edge is formed, if there is an edge A comma B, which means that this is the edge from A to B, which starts at A and ends at B.
Ma'am? Ma'am?
So this is like an directed graph. This is a directed graph. So here, for every edge, we have the directions. We'll call it as a directed graph. 1 second. హలో గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ చెప్పు జాహ్నవి ఏమైంది ఓకే 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 అలో చేస్తున్నా ఓ సారీ, నేను మ్యూట్ లో పెట్టేసా. సారీ ఎలో చేశాను ఇప్పుడు. ఎలో చేశాను. Now we'll see what are the different applications or what are the different areas where you can use these graphs. Right? So examples for these graphs are so first is acquaintanceship graphs. Acquaintanceship graph. So this one is used, this type is used. Suppose if you have a group of people, if there are group of people, in that group of people, some of the people may know each other. Let us suppose some 100 people are there in a group, and in the 100 people, all the people may not be known each other, right? Some of the people may know each other. Who are known to each other to represent, known to each other means acquainted. Who are acquainted, we'll call it as acquainted, right? Who are known to each other to represent that category or to represent the people who knows each other, we can use this graph, right? Let us suppose if you have some 5 people in a group, something like A, B, C, D, and E. Let us suppose if you have a people like this, right? Now you can let us suppose if you have a graph like this, right? The set of people in the group are A, B, C, D, E. These are the people, right? Now whenever you have an edge from one vertex to another vertex, in this case from the person A to the person A, which means that A and B are known to each other. A and B are known to each other. Similarly, from the vertex A, we have one more edge to E, which means that A and E are known to each other. From A, you have an edge to D, so which means that A and D are known to each other. Similarly, when you consider the vertex B, from B, we have an edge to A. Here, A and B are known to each other, which indirectly means that B and A are also known to each other. That is the reason here you will be using a simple graph. We can use a simple undirected graph we can use here. Now tell me why we are using simple graph to represent this relationship. We can use simple and undirected graph. Why do we use simple graph? What do you mean by, what is the definition of simple graph? A simple graph is the one which does not allow parallel edges and the loops, right? So here to represent this acquaintanceship, you can use simple graph. That means there will not be any parallel edges and self loop. Why do we use simple graph? Can anyone justify? Why do we use simple graph? Yes, ma. Why we use simple graph? Why can't we use multi-graph? Can I use a multi-graph? Let us suppose if I am using a multi-graph, we can have some parallel edges and some self-loop, right? Let us suppose if you have a parallel edge and self-loop. Now, what does it mean, ma? If you have an edge from A to B, it means that A and B are known to each other. Now here you have one more edge from B to A. When A and B are known to each other, B and A are also not known to each other. So there is no need of this multiple edge, right? Now coming to this loop. So the loop is from A to A, which means that A is known to himself. Is it valid? A person known to himself is not valid, right? That is the reason loops are not allowed to represent this category. Right? To represent this acquaintanceship relationship, you cannot have multiple edges and loops. So no multiple edges and no parallel edges and no loop means it comes under a simple graph. Clear? That is the reason you cannot use a multi-graph. You can only use a simple graph. Clear? Is it clear? Are you following? Now, second is where I can use these graphs is influence. Influence graphs we can use. Influence graph means there are some set of people where in that group of people we may have people who influences others. Who influences others, right? So to represent that type, we can use this graph. Now you tell me what type of graph you can use. Can we use, do we have to use undirected graph or directed graph or simple graphs or multiple graph? What type of graph we have to use to represent that, to represent the case where one person influences another person? What type of graph you can use? Directed graph. Yes, directed graph. Why? Because suppose if you have two persons A and B, you can, if you have an edge, if you have an undirected edge from A to B, it doesn't know who is influencing who. Whether A is influencing B or B is influencing it, that doesn't know. Let us suppose if I have an edge, now you can know B is influencing A or A is influenced by B, right? So that is the reason you have to use a directed graph, right? So now if you have edges like this, graph like this, right? So now what does it mean? C is influencing A is influenced by B, A is influencing D, and D is influencing D, E is influenced by D, right? So to represent this influence, you can use this directed graph. Clear? Next area where we can use is round robin tournaments. Who are going to like cricket or whatever it is, right? Some set of people are there. Let us assume that it's 10 group of people or 10 teams are there, right? Now, every team has to play with every other team. So, first team has to play with the remaining 9 teams. Third team should also play with 9 teams, and this has to be repeated. Every team has to play with every other team, right? Now, in this also, we can use a directed graph. Why? Because here, tournament means what? When one team is playing with another team, any one team will win, right? That is for sure. At least one team has to win, right? So, why we are using directed graph is to represent which team has won the game. To represent that, we have to use directed graph. Suppose if you have an edge from A to B, from team A to B, and in this direction, which means that team A beats B or team A won the game. Team A won the game and it was played with against whom? It has played against B and the team A has won the game. That is the reason to represent this round robin tournament. We have to use a directed graph and every team has to play with every other teams exactly once. let us see one example. Assume that some 6 teams were there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now consider the first team, and according to the round robin tournament definition, every team has to play with every other team, right? So So one has played with every other team. Now you have to give the direction. Who won the game? Let us suppose when 1 and 2 played the game, assume that 2 has won the game. When 1 and 3 played the game, assume that 1 has won the game. And here also 1 has won the game. And 5 won the game. 1 won the game. Clear? Now consider the second team. It has to play with remaining all other teams. And it has already played with 1. And what happens? 2 won the game. And it has to play with 3 also. Assume that 3 won the game. And it should play with 4 also. Assume that 2 won the game. And it has to play with 5. Assume that again 2 won the game. It has to play with 6. Assume that 6 won the game. Right? Now coming to 3. 3 has to play with remaining 5 teams. So 3 to 1 is done. 3 to 2 is done. 3 to 4. It has played with, assume that 3 plays with 4 and 3 won the game. And 3 played with 5. Assume that 5 won the game. Now 3 to 6. Assume that some 6 has won the game. Right? Now coming to 4. 4 has played with 1, 2, 3. Right? Now 4 to 5. Assume that 5 won the game. 4 to 6. Assume that 4 won the game. Now coming to 5. 5 to 1 is there. 5 to 2. 5 to 3. 5 to 4 is there. Now 5 has to play with 6. Assume that 5 won the game. Right? Now this is the graph which represents which team has played and which team has won against which team. Clear? So according to this round robin tournament, every team has played with remaining n-1 teams, and this direction represents who won the game. Clear now? This is round robin tournament. Is it clear? Now adjacent vertices. What do you mean by adjacent vertices? These are all the terminology we'll use on this graph theory. Simple graph, multi-graph, directed graph, undirected graph, adjacent vertices, degree of a vertex. Right? All these are the terminology that we'll use in this graph theory. Right? Adjacent vertices. Which vertices are said to be adjacent? So two vertices A comma B in a graph G are called adjacent if these two vertices are the endpoints of an edge. Let us suppose if you have an edge from A to B, then A to B, if the edge is from A to B, then these two vertices are known as adjacent to each other. They are adjacent with each other. The two vertices in a graph are said to be adjacent if there is an edge associated with those two vertices, and these are also known as endpoints of an edge. The vertices A and B are also called endpoints of an edge E1. Endpoint of edge E1, right? So now between the endpoints, if there is an edge associated with it, we will call those vertices as adjacent to each other. Adjacent to each other. If you have a graph like this, right? Now the edge E1 is associated. E1 is from A to B, right? Now we'll call these two as endpoints or adjacent with each other. Now E2 is from B to D. So these two are adjacent. E3 is from A to D. E4 is from C to, these are called endpoints are adjacent with each other. Right? So those are adjacent vertices where between any two vertices, if there is an edge formed, we'll call it as an adjacent vertices. Next is the degree of a vertex. First, we'll see what is the degree of a vertex in undirected graph. After that, we'll see degree of a vertex in directed graph. Degree of a vertex in undirected graph means consider a vertex V. So the degree of this vertex V is equal to the number of edges incident with it. How many edges are formed with that vertex, or how many edges are incident with that vertex? Those count is known as degree of a vertex. Degree of a vertex. Let us see one example. Consider a graph like this. A, let us suppose if you have a graph like this, right? Now see how to find the degree of every vertex. What is the degree of vertex? And one more point to be remembered is, in case of undirected graph, the degree of a loop contributes the value as 2. The degree of a loop contributes 2 to that particular vertex. Clear? Degree, if there is a loop formed at any vertex, then to the degree of that vertex, a value of 2 will be added. That loop represents the degree as 2. Why? Because it is undirected graph. So 1 and 1. You can treat it as 1 and 1. Clear? We don't know whether it is, let us suppose if we have multiple edges from A to B, one we will treat it as 1 from A to B, one will treat it as B to A. In same with my loop mark, right? So one edge, one loop will contribute a degree of. Now coming to the vertex here, how many edges are incident with the vertex? 1 and 2. So with this vertex A, 1 and 2 edges are incident. So 2 will be the degree. Coming to B, so the loop will contribute 2. So 2 plus 1 and 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now C, 1, 2, 3, 4. D, only 1. And E, only 1. Right? Now you count this. I'll tell you why we are counting. I'll tell you. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. Next to that, if you have one more loop here, then you'll have 3. So what is the value? 3 plus 8, 8, 10, 14. 14 is the total degree of the vertices. Why I have calculated this sum, I'll tell you. We have a theorem, handshaking theorem. The handshaking theorem is there, which says that the handshaking theorem, it says that sum of the degrees of all the vertices, should be equal to 2 times the number of edges. 2 times the number of edges, right? So in the previous graph, what is the sum of the degree of all the vertices we have calculated? We have found the sum of the degrees of all the vertices as 14. And how many edges we have? Let us see the number of edges. C, D. Right? Now count the number of edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. A to C is also there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2 into 7, right? Which is also equal to 40. Right? So this handshaking theorem says that sum of the degrees of all the vertices should be equivalent to 2 times the number of edges. Clear? This is one point to be remembered. One more point is the number of odd degree vertices. Number of odd degree vertices should be even. Should be even. So, how many vertices we have where the degree is odd? So, what is the degree of A? It is 2. And degree of B is 4. Degree of C is 4. D is 1. E is 3. So, how many vertices we have where the degree is odd? So, here we have 2 vertices. So, what is the 2? The value 2 is even. Number of odd degree vertices should be even. So, these are the 2 points you have to remember under this handshaking theorem. Sum of the degrees of all the vertices in a graph is equal to 2 times the number of edges. Number of odd degree vertices should be even. Clear? Round robin tournament. Satvika Maram. What do you want me to explain one more time? Okay, okay. Okay, I'll explain, ma. 2 minutes. So let's see round robin tournament ones. So round robin tournament graph you can use when you want to show when teams are playing, team has won the game. And one more point regarding round robin tournament is every team has to play in all other teams exactly once. Assume that there are teams, ABC teams. So A has to play with B, A has to play with A, play with D. Right? Now, when A plays B, assume that B won the game. And A won the game. Here also A won the game. Similarly, yeah. So here, B and A, A who won the game, B won the game. So, assume that when B and C play the game, and sorry. Is it clear now? Okay. So every team has to play with every other team. That is what round robin tournament means, right? So A has to play with remaining all other teams. So it is A to B, A to C, A to D should be there. A same with B. B has to play with A, C and D. Similarly with C, A and D. Like that, right? Now, when A and B played the game, B won the game. Similarly, when A and C played, A won the game. Like that, I have written who won the game. Now, you can represent it in the form of a graph. As there are how many teams? 4 teams are there. A, B, C, D. 4 teams are there. So, A should play with B. A has to play with C. A has to play with D. Now, when A and B played the game, who won the game? B won the game, right? So, when B won the game, there should be an edge like this. That means B defeats A or B won the game. Now, between A and C, who won the game? A won the game. So, A defeats C. With A and D also, A won the game. Clear? Now, B to A. B to A is already there. B won the game, that we have already represented. Now B to C. So B to C. Who won the game, ma? C won the game. So the direction should be from C to B. Phone. B to D. Who won the game? B to D. B to D. B won the game. Right? So the direction should be from B to D. Now coming to C. C to A. Already represented and A has won the game. C to B is already there. C to D should be shown. And here D won the game. So the direction should be from D to C. Now coming to D. D to A is already represented. D to B is represented. D to C is also represented. Right? Now this is round robin tournament graph. When n number of teams are playing a game, to represent, if you want to represent which team won the game, you can represent it in the form of a round robin graph. Is it clear now? Now is it clear, ma? Is it clear? Second point of handshaking theorem. Okay, 1 second. Shall I erase this? Is this round robin tournament clear? Okay. So second point of handshaking theorem is, let us suppose there is a graph like this. Right. So first you need to find the degree of the vertices. Degree of A. What is the degree of A? How many edges are incident with it? That will be the degree. 1 and 2. Degree of B. 1, 2. Degree of C. A loop always contributes 2. So 2 plus 1, 2, 3. 2 plus 3, 5. D. 1 and 2. E. 1, 2. F. 1 plus loop. That is 3. Right? Now you add all these. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 5, 9, 11, 13, 16. Right? So first point is sum of the degrees of all the vertices should be equivalent to 2 times the number of edges. That is the first point. What is the sum of the degrees? 16. 2 times the number of edges. How many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 into 8 is 16. Now second point is number of odd degree vertices. Odd degree vertices. How many number of odd degree vertices we have? Even, even. This is odd. Even, even, odd. How many vertices we have with odd degree? 2. So this count should be even. The number of odd degree vertices should be even. Is it clear now? Is it clear now? Okay. Excuse me. So in case of a undirected graph, if an edge is formed between any two vertices, then we'll call them as adjacent with each other. Those vertices are adjacent with each other, and we'll also call those vertices as end points. We'll call them as end points in case of undirected graph, right? Now, in case of a directed graph, if there is an edge from A to B, in case of undirected graph, if if the edges from A to B, we'll call those two vertices are adjacent with each other. Adjacent with each other. With each other. This is important. Now coming to this directed graph, if the edge is from A to B, the edge is from A to B, then we'll say that A is adjacent to B. A is adjacent to B and B is adjacent from A. We'll call that A is adjacent to B. B is adjacent from A. Clear? And in case of undirected graph, A and B are known as the end points. In case of a directed graph, the vertex A, that is the starting vertex, is known as initial vertex. Initial vertex. And the vertex B is known as terminal vertex. Is it clear? A is adjacent to B and B is adjacent from A, and A is the starting vertex, B is the terminal vertex. For a loop in a directed graph, the initial vertex and the terminal vertex both are same. Now we'll see how to find the degree of a vertex in case of a directed graph. Now we have seen how to find the degree of a vertex in case of undirected graph. Now we'll see in case of a directed graph how to get the degree of a vertex. Degree of a vertex in digraph, that is directed graph. So here, in case of undirected graph, we'll have only 1 degree for every vertex. But in case of a directed graph, we can have in degree and out degree. In degree and out degree. In degree is represented as, out degree is represented as degree plus of the vertex. In degree of V is represented like this, out degree of V is represented like this. Right? Now, what is this in degree? In degree of a vertex is the number of edges where the vertex V is a terminal vertex. Where the vertex V is a terminal vertex. In degree of a vertex V is calculated as, it is equal to the number of edges with the vertex V as terminal vertex, and the opposite to this is out degree. Out degree of a vertex is number of edges with V as initial vertex. Initial vertex. In simple, we can say that in degree of a vertex is the number of vertices who are coming. In can be, you just remember like in means coming, out means going. How many edges are coming towards the vertex, that represents the in degree. How many edges are going from the vertex, that represents the out degree. In going and coming can be represented like this. Let us suppose if you have a graph like this. Now from the vertex, how many edges are coming towards the vertex E? Towards and arrow should be like this, coming towards A. So that represents degree, in degree of A. So how many edges are coming towards A? Only 1. Now similarly, out degree of A, how many edges are going from A? Out degree means going. So going from A, how many? Only 1. That is 1. Similarly, in degree of B, how many edges are coming towards B? Nothing. So 0. Now out degree of B is what? How many edges are going from B? 1. 2. So 2 is the out degree. Like this, in degree and out degree will be there for a directed graph. Let us see one example. Is it clear what is in degree and out degree? I'll explain with example. And one more point to be remembered is, in case of an undirected graph, the loop contributes 2 to the degree of a vertex. 2 to the degree. If there is a loop at vertex A, then degree of A will be 2. Clear? Now, if it is a directed graph, this 2 value is divided into 1 and 1. That means the loop contributes 1 to the in degree of a vertex, 1 to the out degree of a vertex. Clear? If there is a loop at A, in case of a directed graph, then in degree of A will be equal to 1, out degree of A is equal to 1. If it is undirected graph, degree of A will be equal to 2. Clear? Now let us see one example. Consider a graph. Let us suppose you have a graph like this, right? Now find the in degree and the out degree. So, degree of a vertex in undirected graph is equal to in degree of vertex plus out degree of vertex in directed graph. So if there are no edges, if there are no arcs, if there are no direction, then it will be like a undirected graph, right? So the in degree of a any vertex in undirected graph, it is equal to in degree of the vertex plus out degree of the vertex in case of a directed graph. Clear? Now let us calculate this in degree and out degree. So for every vertex we have to calculate, right? So let me write in degree and out degree. So for A, what is the in degree? In degree means number of vertices coming towards. Is there any vertex coming to A? No. Out degree of A. How many are going from A? Only 1. B. How many are coming to A? Sorry, coming to B? 1, 2. 2 plus there is a loop, right? So this loop contributes 1 in the in degree and 1 in the out degree. So first of all, we'll see how many edges are going from B. There are no edges. So 0 plus 1 should be. This loop will contribute 1 in the out degree. So it is 3 and 1. Now C. How many edges are coming to C? There is only 1 edge. Going from C. 1, 2. D. How many edges are coming to D? 1, 2. How many edges are going from D? Only 1. Now E. How many edges are coming to E? Nothing. Going from E is 1. This is edge going from E. Right? So in this way, the in degree and out degree of a directed graph we can calculate. So when you add this in degree and out degree, that is, you will get the degree of a vertex. That is undirected graph. So 0 plus 1 is 1. So assume that there is no edge here. Then what will be the degree of this vertex? 1. How many edges are incident with it? 1. Similarly, coming to B, 3 plus 1 should be 4. If there are no edges, how many edges are incident with B? 1, 2, and this loop contributes 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. With C, 1 plus 2 should be 3. If there are no edges, if there are no directions, how many edges are incident with C? 1, 2, 3. Similarly with D, 2 plus 1 is 3. So 1, 2, 3. With E, 0 plus 1 is 1. So only one edge is incident. Clear? Yes, is it clear now? Explain B vertex. So B is, this is B vertex, right? So when there is a loop, this loop will contribute 1 in the out degree, 1 in the in degree. That means 1 will be added in the out degree, 1 will be added in the in degree, right? So in degree of B, in means how many edges are coming towards B? 1, 2. So 2 plus, as there is a loop, so loop will contribute 1 in the in degree. So 2 plus 1 is 3 will be the in degree of B. Now coming to the out degree, how many edges are going from B? No, nothing is there. So 0 plus, the loop will contribute 1 in the out degree. So 0 plus 1 is 1. 520. Is it clear now? Now the second topic is types of graphs. First type is complete graph. Complete graph. So the complete graph with n vertices is represented by Kn. Kn means, K represents a complete graph and n represents the number of vertices. So the complete graph with n vertices is denoted as Kn, which means that this complete graph is a simple graph, which means that in complete graph we don't have any loops and no parallel edges. Okay? A complete graph is a simple graph which contains exactly one edge between each pair of vertices. This each pair of vertices word is important. There should exist exactly one edge. Between each pair of vertices. It is like a tournament, a round robin tournament we have seen, no? That is like, that comes under this complete graph. What is that round robin tournament? Every team has to play with remaining all other teams exactly once. Here also complete graph means between each pair of vertices. Let us suppose A, B, C, D are there, the vertices. Then between each pair of vertices, between AB, between AC, between BD, here should be exactly one edge between BC, BA, BD, CD, like this. Right? This is known as a complete graph. A complete graph with n vertices is denoted as Kn, which is a simple graph where it contains exactly one edge between every pair of vertices. Right? So let us see if there K2 means there exist two vertices, right? So two vertices means between this pair of vertices there should be exactly one edge. So it is a complete graph with two vertices. Complete graph with three vertices, right? Between each pair of vertices there should be exactly one edge. So between these two pairs we have one edge, between these two pairs we have one edge. So it is K3. Similarly, K4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices. So between every pair of vertices, there should be exactly one vertex. So 1, 2, 3. Now coming to this vertex, all the three were formed. Clear? Now when the number of vertices are 5, assume that A, B, C, D, E is there, right? From A to B, A to C, A to D, A to E. B to A, B to C, B to D, B to E. C to A, C to B is there, C to D, C to E. Now D to A, B, C are there, D to E. Clear? This is the complete graph with 5 vertices. Yeah. And one more point to be remembered in this complete graph is the degree of a vertex in complete graph is equal to n minus 1. That is, degree of all the vertices in a complete graph is same, and that should be equal to n minus 1, where n is the number of vertices. Clear? So when you observe this first one, what is the degree of this one? Let it be A and B. Degree of A, how many edges are incident with it? 1. So it is 1. So 1 means 2 minus 1. That is n minus 1. Here n equal to 2, n equal to 3, n equal to 4, n equal to 5. Now similarly B, degree of B is again 1. That is n minus 1. Now coming here, degree of A is 1 and 2. 2 means 3 minus 1 only. Degree of B is 1 and 2. The degree of all the vertices will be same. Degree of C is 1 and 2. Here, degree of A, let it be A, B, C, D. Degree of A is 1, 2, 3. Degree of B, 1, 2, 3. Degree of C, 1, 2, 3. Degree of D, 1, 2, 3. Clear? Now here, degree of A, 1, 2, 3, 4. B, 1, 2, 3, 4. C is again 1, 2, 3, 4. D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same with E, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So degree of all the vertices will be equal and should be equal to n minus 1 in case of a complete graph. Clear, ma? Complete graph. Is it clear? Okay. Next type of the graph is null graph. First is complete graph, second is null graph. Null graph means a graph with isolated vertices. A graph with isolated. Isolated means what? A vertex which does not have any edges incident with it. Right? So if you have a graph with isolated vertex. So this is a null graph with single vertex. A null graph with 2 vertices. A null graph with 3 vertices. A null graph with 4 vertices. You'll have the vertices, but you don't have the edges. Clear? This is the null graph. Third category is regular graph. Next is regular graph. A regular graph means a graph where the degree of all the vertices is same. A graph, regular graph means a graph where all the vertices will have the same degree. All the vertices having same degree. It is known as a regular graph. Suppose if the degree of all the vertices is something like R, then we'll call that graph as a regular graph of degree R. A regular graph of degree R. Okay? Now, you can say this complete graph as a regular graph. Why? Because just now I told you, in case of a regular graph, the degree of all the vertices will be equal to n minus 1, which means the degree of all the vertices is same. We have already calculated, right? So, we have found the degree of all the vertices we have obtained as same, and it should be equal to n minus 1. So, a complete graph Kn will be treated as a regular graph of degree n minus 1. Complete graph can be treated as a regular graph of degree n minus 1. Clear? One example for this regular graph is like this, something like this. So when you observe this graph, degree of all the vertices should be same. It can be anything, but in case of a complete graph, it should be n minus 1. In case of a regular graph, the degree can be anything, but every vertex should have the same. Okay? So for A, it is 2. For B, it is 2. For C, it is 2. For D also, it is 2. That means all the vertices are having the degree as 2. Therefore, this graph can be treated as a regular graph of degree 2. A regular graph of degree 2. Clear? Next category is cycle graph. Next type is cycle graph. The cycle graph Cn means the length is n. A cycle graph Cn of length n, and here n should be greater than or equal to 3. That means for a cycle graph, minimum number of vertices should be 3. Minimum number of vertices for a cycle graph should be 3. So there should exist a minimum of 3 vertices in a cycle graph, and the length of that cycle graph should be equal to n, where n is number of vertices, right? Now the edges should be like this: v1 to v2, v2 to v3, v3 to v4, sorry, so on up to vn to v1, vn to v1. That means a cycle graph is the one where the edge starts from one vertex and it has to travel through all the vertices in the graph, and it should end it with same vertex. The vertex should start from, the edge starts from one vertex and it has to travel through all the vertices in the graph. All the n vertices should be traveled, and it should end or it should come back to the starting vertex. Clear? Why the length is minimum of 3? So when you consider there are only 2 vertices, can I say this is a cycle? The edge started from here, but if it ends here, it doesn't mean. Why? Because these 2 represents the same. A and B, B and A represents the same. We cannot treat it as a cycle. That is the reason there should exist minimum of 3 vertices for a cycle graph. Let us see some examples for the cycle graph. If there are 3 vertices, then the cycle graph is C3. So A, B, C. What does it mean? It starts from one vertex, has to travel through all the vertices, and it should come back to the same vertices. Now what are the vertices? A comma B, B comma C, and C comma A. So started from the vertex A, visited all the vertices and it has come back to the starting vertex A. So we can call it as a cycle graph of length 3. Now if you have 4 vertices, then it is a cycle graph of length 4. So it has to start from B. Let us suppose it has to travel through all the vertices and should come back to the same. So BC, CD, DA, AB started and ended at the same point. C5, 5 vertices are there. Assume that A, B, C, D, and E. Right? Assume that it started at E, E to A, B, A to B, B to C, B to C to D, D to A. Right? So E comma A comma B, B comma C, C comma D, and ends at A. Started and ended at the same point. We'll call it as a cycle graph. Yeah. Any doubts? And the next type is wheel graph. So a wheel graph of length n is represented as Wn. This wheel graph means in a cycle graph, in the center if you have one vertex, from the center to all other remaining vertices. If you have an edge, we'll call it as a wheel graph. If there is a cycle graph, assume that C3 is a cycle graph. In this cycle graph, in the middle, if you have a vertex, from this vertex, if you have an edges to all other vertices, then it is called as a wheel graph. And this center vertex is known as universal vertex. Universal vertex. Why this is called as universal vertex? Why? Because this vertex is adjacent with all other vertices in the graph. This center vertex is adjacent to A, adjacent to B, adjacent to C. So as a vertex which is adjacent with or adjacent to all other vertices in the graph, all other vertices in the graph is known as a universal vertex. So for a cycle graph, if you include a universal graph, universal vertex, if you add a universal vertex in a cycle graph, then we will call it as a wheel graph, right? So C3, for a C3, the wheel graph will be W4. Why? Because you are adding one universal vertex to the cycle graph, which results in wheel graph, right? If the cycle graph is C4, then the wheel graph will be W5. If the cycle graph is C5, then the wheel graph will be W6. Clear? Let us see the examples. First of all, draw the cycle graphs first. This is the cycle graph C3, right? Let me draw C4. And let me draw C5. Okay. Now, to this cycle graph, add a vertex E in the center, which is universal vertex, and if you have the edges to all the vertices from this universal vertex. Now this is W4. C3, W4, C4, C5, right? Now, to this cycle, if you add a vertex in the middle and it will have all the edges, it will have the edges to all the vertices in the graph. So it is W5. Similarly with this F, F2A, F2B, F2C. Right? So W6 is the wheel graph. Okay. So for a cycle graph, minimum cycle graph will be 3. That means minimum number of vertices should be 3. So with wheel graph, minimum number of vertices should be 4. So W4 is the minimum wheel graph, C3 is the minimum cycle graph. Clear? Next important is bipartite graph. Next type of graph is bipartite graph. It is important one. If there is a graph G with V comma E, set of vertices and vertices, right? Now this set of vertices, if you divide it into 2 groups, if you divide this into 2 groups, such that every edge in the graph connects a vertex in V1 and a vertex in V2. If there is a graph G with the set of vertices as V, and if this set of vertices is divided into 2 groups V1 and V2, such that every edge in that graph should connect a vertex in V1 and a vertex in V2, right? And no edge should connect the vertices in V1 only, and no edge should connect 2 vertices in V2. One vertex should present in V1, one vertex should present in V2. And that type of vertices, and that type of graph is known as a bipartite graph. Let us see one example. Consider there are some 5 number of vertices we have, A, B, C, D, E, right? 5 number of vertices are there. What we have to do, this set you need to divide into V1 and V2. Let us suppose I have divided into AB into one group, CDE into one group, right? So here you have A, B and C, D. Okay. Now what is the condition? An edge should be formed such that edge means what? It has to connect to 2 points or 2 vertices, right? So that edge should contain one vertex in the first group, one vertex in the second group, one vertex in V1, one vertex in V2, one vertex in V1, one vertex in V2. So this is known as a bipartite graph. Bipartite graph. Yes. The set of vertices, if you divide into 2 categories or 2 groups, then an edge should formed from 2 end points such that one point should be there in the first group, second point should be there in the second group. Let us see one more example. Understand clearly. Let me draw the graph first. Now let us check whether this given graph is a bipartite graph or not. Whether the given graph is a bipartite graph or not. Right? So bipartite graph means what? How many vertices we have? Let me write the set of vertices x1, x2, x3, x4, that's it. y1, y2, y3. When you if you divide this set of vertices into 2 groups, let me divide x4. If you divide them into 2 groups and if you draw the edges, then the edge should contain one end in the first group. One end should be there in V1, one end should be there in V2, right? Let me write the vertices group wise. In the first group we have 4. In the second group we have 2, right? Sorry, 3, right? Now, from X, what is the edge E1 mark? Total of how many edges are there? 8 edges are there. E1 is from X1 to Y1. So, when you draw this E1, this edge contains one vertex in the first group, one vertex in the second group. Yes, it is valid. Now, E2 is from X1 to Y2. X1 to Y2. Now, same thing. This E2 contains one edge in V1, one vertex in V1, one vertex in V2. E3 is from Y1 to X2 or between. It as it is undirected, so I can use between the word, not from or to. So it is between X2 and Y1. X2 and Y1. So same thing, ma. This edge E3 contains one vertex in V1, one vertex in V2. Let me draw E4 remaining edges like this. E4 is between X2 and Y2. Right? So E4. Next E5. E5 is between Y2 and X3. Y2 and X3. E5. E6 is between X2 and Y3. X2 and Y3. E7, X3, Y3. E7. E8, Y3, X4. Right? So, when you observe this, here all the edges are drawn such that one end point is in the one group, another end point is in the another group. Therefore, you can say that given graph is a bipartite graph. Bipartite graph. Clear? So this is one way of checking whether the given graph is bipartite or not. But this is somewhat difficult. Why? Because you have to divide the given vertices into certain group. You have to divide them, right? So that is a reason to make it easy or to check whether it is bipartite or not in a easy manner. How you can say that is a simple graph can be said as a bipartite graph if and only if it is possible to assign one of two different colors. Remember, one of two different colors. That means maximum of two colors you have to use. If you are able to assign one of two different colors to each vertex of the graph, such that no two adjacent vertices should be colored with the same color. Let me explain here. So you can say that a simple graph is a bipartite graph. And what is the condition to be satisfied? If and only if and only if it is possible, to color each vertex with one of two different colors, such that no two adjacent vertices should have the same color. Clear? And one more point to be remembered is a bipartite graph does not have a loop. Why we cannot have a loop in bipartite graph, ma? Why? Because loop is from what? Loop is from the same vertex to itself, So if the loop is from A to A, then A will be in one group. Then how can you draw the edge? According to the definition of bipartite graph, the edge should be drawn such that one vertex should be in one group, one vertex should be in another group, right? So if you have a loop here, then you can have edge. You can have the edge which can be formed only in the first group, any of this group, either in the first group or in the second group. That is the reason loops are not followed or not allowed in a bipartite graph. That is the reason I have used the word simple graph. A bipartite graph is a simple graph. So a simple graph can be a bipartite graph. So you have to use maximum of two colors. You have to use such that the vertices should be colored with any of these two colors. Let us suppose if I have used some black and white colors, so every vertex should be colored with any one of these two colors, such that no two adjacent vertices, ante pakka pakkana unna vertices, no two adjacent vertices should be colored with the same. If A is colored with B, this vertex B must be colored with white. It should not be colored with B. Clear? Now I will tell you by using this concept how to say whether the given graph is a bipartite graph or not. Clear? Let me write the same graph: x1, y2, x3, y1, x2, y3. And x4, right? E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, E8, right? Now, what we have to do? You have to color the vertices. Let us suppose if I am using green and yellow colors. Green and any of the maximum of two colors I use here. Okay. So if you have used two colors, then let us suppose x1 vertex is colored with green. Then y2 is adjacent to x1. So it should not be colored with green. It should be colored with white. Similarly, y1 is adjacent to x1. should not be colored with green. It should be colored with white. Now this x2 is adjacent to y1, so it should not be colored with white. That is yellow. It should be colored with green. So same thing as white, it is adjacent to white x2. As y2 is colored with white, x2 should be colored with green. Now y3 should be colored with white. Why? Because here we have green. Now here we have yellow, so x3 should be colored with green. Here we have yellow, so x4 should be colored with green. Now you divide the vertices into two groups, right? So green colored vertices you divide into one group, yellow colored vertices you divide into one group. Now green colored vertices are what? x1, x3, x2, x4, right? So green colored vertices are x1, x2, x3 and x4. Now what are yellow colored vertices? y1, y2, y3. y1, y2, y3. These are the yellow colored vertices. Now, one second, wait, ma. Now you divide, you write the vertices into two groups and you try to draw the edges. If you are able to draw the edge such that if one vertex of any verge presents in one group and if second vertex or the second end point present in the second group, then we can say that the given graph is a bipartite graph, right? Now E1 is from x1, E1 is between x1 and y1, right? So between x1 and y1 we have E1 and E2 is from x1 to y2. E2 is from x1 to y2. So here from this group to this group we have drawn the edge. So valid. Any point, at any point, if you are able to, if you have an edge like this between the vertices in the same group, then you can stop the procedure and you can simply say that the graph is not a bipartite graph. So E1 and E2 I have drawn, E1 and E2. Now E3 is between Y1 and X2. E3. Now E4 is Y2 and X2. E4. E5 is Y2 and X3. E6 is X2 and Y3. E6. E7 is X3 and Y3. E8 is Y3 and X4, right? So when you observe these edges, all these edges are formed such that one end point is in the first group, second end point of the edge is in the second group. Therefore, you can say that the given graph is a bipartite graph. So like this, by using the coloring technique, we can say whether the given graph is a bipartite graph or not. Is it clear now? Have you understood, ma'am? Suppose if you have, let us assume that if you have one more edge from x3 to x2, if you have an edge from like this, right? Now, can you tell me whether it is a bipartite graph or not? So here, using this coloring technique, if x2 is colored with green, x3 should not be colored with green. Why? Because these two are adjacent. If you have an edge like this, right? But here, both are colored with the same, right? So, if you want to use a different color for the adjacent vertices here, instead of green, you have to use yellow. If you use yellow, as it is adjacent to y3 and y2, so you cannot use yellow. That means you have to use some other color, right? Blue or black, some other color you have to use. But what is the condition? You have to use only two colors to know whether it is a bipartite or not. So, if you have an edge here, then we can simply say that it is not a bipartite graph. Clear? In the next class, we'll see the remaining topics, complete bipartite graph and everything. Don't leave, I will take the attendance.